Hi. Yeah, this is very exciting, and I'm actually quite honored to be here, and thank you for having me. And I was blessed to participate in actually 4 projects that are showcased here, so I'm really excited. Now, the CrimeTracker is an application that I built for the Columbia Missourian after working there for some time as their part-timer, and I'm currently full-timer. So it all starts with an email, and here I actually have to exit this thing, and I would have a tab open, but I have to open one again. So yeah, this is going to be long. Let's talk about life, people. I love the morning today. It was great, wasn't it? It was sunny. I actually wake up like at 10 most days, and today it was like at 7 to get here early. So I was like, oh my God, the morning is so awesome. So we're getting in emails from the Columbia Police Department every day. They're structured in the same way. They're called the same. This is a special mailbox that I use for this. And you see they're called the same. Scheduled report. Let's go into it. So it has preset information here. It's all the same every day. Super boring, super horrible. And they have a spreadsheet that has records on the last 28 days of police reports taken by the Columbia police officers. So it's 28 days in the past every day. So tomorrow we're not going to have the 20th day yesterday that we had yesterday. If we actually kind of look into it, and thanks for Google, I don't have to download it and stuff. It has information, right? Every record is a record on something, and the most kind of interesting thing is this synopsis. And it says what occurred, where, the incident number. It also has the street address, and kind of mind these X's. These are important. I'll tell you why later. X's are always important, aren't they? Now, and also type, like if it's an arson or robbery or stuff like that. So, but how did this got started? Like I had to show you the, oh wait, did I close the presentation? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. It's in the when I started at the Missourian, I knew how to do data already. I knew how to do some of the coding. I really wanted to apply that. I mean, Mizzou, I think, is wonderful for one of the things that's perfect is because it allows you to learn coding while you're at the J school and actually do programming as your job after you graduate from the journalism school, which is kind of what, for me at least. I think that's kind of neat. This is how it all started. So Katherine Reed is an editor who is on the crime beat of the Columbia Missourian, and that's what she told me. And I was like, okay, let me look into it. So I looked into it. I saw that there were addresses. I started mapping it. I started kind of working with it. And then after around 2 months, the CrimeTracker was born. So I did show you what I worked with. So that's kind of instantaneous emails, and I built an app that basically gets an email every morning. We get it at 8 a.m. At 8:30 approximately, my script connects, gets the data, cleans the addresses, fixes it. I mean, makes sure things are properly done, appends it to an existing database, and then I use that to create the presentation part. The good thing about the backend, though, is that the Missourian currently holds a unique database of violations because I'm doing this every day and I'm appending information, not me, the script. And so the only 2 kind of bodies, I think, in Como that have this info is the police department and us, which is cool, right? Because, for example, this database could be used in the data reporting classes to do some more in-depth reporting. Say you're taking car, you didn't know how to SQL, you rock, and you can just go there and ask the questions that I haven't answered through the CrimeTracker. So what was the problem? Why did I start doing it? Well, we had lots of data, and the organization was dirty. It's super boring. It's tedious, right? For people, there is no easy access to it, and nobody's getting those emails as often. I mean, if a person were invested, like super invested, he could have or she could have, connected to the police department and spoken to them and said, hey, please give this to me, and they would give this to him, but, that's horrible. Nobody does that. Yeah, analysis, again. We are in the newsroom when we thought, okay, we need to analyze that. They would sometimes give these emails to students who would go through the spreadsheet, reading everything and trying to figure out what is happening where, and not necessarily that's the best way to go about it. Like you're wasting a lot of time doing that. And of course, there was no real presentation. Like, if I wanted to look at the overall picture, I couldn't because I would have to sit for hours and hours and do some very time-invested reporting into, trying to figure out what the hell is happening. So, hey, demo, let's look at it. So, I'm trying to click the button looking at that screen, which is far away. And I did it, which is cool. So, Columbia Missourian CrimeTracker. So, ta-da, here it is. There's a bunch of fields that are populated automatically. Like, for example, this. It takes the database and parses it and says from what day to what day how many violations there were. Because the data set is so huge and I'm processing a lot of information, it's lumped into 6 months pieces. So you can actually click here and pick a different data set, and we have data from July, December 2014. We actually started in gathering them, having them in July. So we do have January through June, well, not through June, of course, through May of 2014. And then when we will go to July, it will automatically be showing July. And this is kind of neat. I'm kind of proud of this, because this will live its own life when I'm gone. I hope I'm not dead, but if I'm gone. It's going to have 2016, and it's going to automatically do that stuff because it's just pulling that from the database and seeing how many years there are, how many months there are, stuff like that. So that's your overall. Now, we're jumping right away to the grand picture. So the question this thing answers is, tell me how many, generally, things are happening in Colombia daily. So when you hover over a thing in an infographic, it shows you how many records there were on Thursday, April the 21st, I'm sorry, 14 violations, 11 violations. And you can kind of see the trends. Like, the first thing I looked up was my birthday, of course. You're also welcome to. Like, how many things happened on my birthday, where, and so on and so forth. And, of course, you can also limit it to 3 months or all, and look at all the spikes. Interesting part. Something I also kind of ended up noticing after looking more into it is that more violations happen on the weekdays than on the weekends, and during the holidays there's almost none. And with all due respect, I don't necessarily think that's because people are behaving themselves better, but this is maybe because less gets recorded, which is also an interesting thing, and a question that could be asked to the Colombia police officers. Like, is this what we think it is? Damn. And of course, you can do fancy stuff like doing this and further investigating. Now, the biggest part of it, as I said, it started with Katherine telling me just map it. So I mapped it. And here it's lumped into months. So it's selecting months. And it selects the latest month by default, so it's April. And we have violations on the map. And these things are clusters because there are so many pins, it would be just ugly to put them all there. And so they're clustered. And if you click on it, it zooms in and it expands. And individual markers start to pop out. And if you click on a marker, and kind of the color coding is for type of the crime, right? If you click on it, it says, well, what are you doing? What actually happened, right? I have to kind of put it in this middle box. What happened, and what the nature was and the time of the report. So that way you can actually look at your kid's school, at your work, at your home. And I'm actually following my own neighborhood, and there are some things, like there was, actually this month there was a robbery, an armed robbery, I think, in a block of the apartment block 11. I live in 1600 Kitty Hawk Drive, and there was a robbery at 1800, which is pretty close. And I'm like, wow, this thing gave me some information. Thank you, Roman, right? Yeah, I actually do thank myself sometimes. So there is a disclaimer on every single pin for more info, because there are some very important information that we wanted to tell our readers right away. Like, say, comments are the way they appear in the database. If somebody misspells the word police there, which happens, it's not us, it's the officers. With all due respect, of course, I love them. They're awesome. They do a great job. So nature, category, and description, and they come from the uniform crime reporting, and you click on that, get more information on what the hell that is. That's actually an FBI thing, if I'm not mistaken. And location is approximate. The X is there. So it's not the direct address, it's the block. And so for people not to freak out when there is a homicide in their home on the map or something like that, we're saying, wow, right, this is just the general picture, treat this please. And specifically putting it on every single pin so that we're sure that the person, we're warning them very, very extensively. And the nice thing about this is also filtering capabilities. So I can just click this, oops, and unclick this, and it filters on the go. I don't have to do anything. And it adds stuff very smoothly, very fast. And I can go to a different month, let's say March, and it loaded March for me and filtered it already. And so if I'm only interested at, say, other assaults, oops, I can unclick all these things and just look at other assaults and homicide robbery, of course, and get the overall picture. I can compare months like that, right? So March, and I'm selecting for some reason, and April, there we go. What about March and February? Well, there we go, there's the February for us, with all the information inside it. and only other assaults and homicide and robbery for us. Yeah, the good part, you can actually limit the dates. So the birthday thing I was talking about, let's say, yeah, these 4 days of, what is it, February, right? So nothing happened. What about other offenses? There we go, a bunch of these. Then there is also a table view, which is kind of the same, but it's searchable. So I can do things like, say, Walmart. Because believe it or not, there's a bunch of stuff stolen from cars at parking lots, specifically Walmart. Close your cars, people. I mean it. Like, it's happening all the time. So if you're interested at the Broadway Walmart, you can click on the second. Give it a second because it's thinking. Come on. Don't fail me. Come on. It should work. Yeah, there we go. It actually gets you to the map and draws a nice circle around the location that you're interested in. And because it's a parking lot, there's like a bunch of stuff here. And you're clicking and it's spiderifying in a kind of Fibonacci number-y way, which I think is very cool. I didn't do that, right? I mean, I've plugged in a plugin that does that, but it's cool. Yeah, that's kind of the way it works. This is the disclaimer. And the last thing I'm going to show you, I have 3 minutes. Awesome. I'm actually not that bad. Inspect element. Disregard all this thing. So, actually, there's a mobile version. Are you in a phone? It's a bit clunky to get there, sort of, but when you're actually on the phone on the Columbia Missourian, you get there, and this is what you get. This is pretty much the same, but it's mobile. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm destroying your room. So it gives you an overview. It's slightly different because it's a mobile interface, so I scrapped some of the stuff but added some of the stuff. This is the first infographic shown in a different way as a pie chart, as a donut, fancy word for it. Then there is also an overview that you can look for a week or a month. There is the types of violations by month. In this month, what violations happened most. There is also the same map interface that's just slightly usability is slightly different. You still click on things, they still pop up. There isn't a disclaimer here to utilize the smaller space of a screen, but there is a filter option that you can actually filter in the same way, except they don't filter right away. You should actually click Update Map, but after you do it, it does update for you. And it happens so fast you don't notice it. There's also Find Me, and let's see if that works. Yeah, I'll allow my location. There I am. Awesome, so let's see everything on the map. Oh, what is this? Come on. Fraud, 300 block 9th Street South at 1730 hours. Fraud. Beware of the fraud, people. And of course, there's the list view the same way. You can actually explore it and search it and filters on the go. And the about, which is just about, so you know that we're, as I said, using the comments as they were in the database and so on and so forth. Did I have any more slides? Yes, one last slide, I believe. Future development. So I want to do an update someday. I want people to be able to, for example, select an area on the map and get email alerts if they're there. I want them to be able to comment on a record or share it and start a conversation about a specific record. And do some front page widgets so that you could put a small widget on the front page if you're a news organization, the Missourian particularly, that would just give some very overview highlight of last week's robbery or anything like that. I'm out of time, thank you.